Let's talk about owning it. So if you want to get serious about having a video-centric strategy, one of the first things you have to think about with your brand is this. Traditional brand personality, it can be like the wall, especially for a mature brand. It's like, okay, so nobody even laughed. Does anybody watch Game of Thrones? Come on. You know, for us, our image, we were scared to change. We've been around for 40 years making the same 2 wines. Meanwhile, all around us, everything is changing with social media and algorithms and everything new. But we had to realize, and brands really need to realize, it's like, how are you going to survive in today's era with how you tell your story and how you communicate? Because, of course, winter is here. And it's our duty as brand marketers to be that dragon. You have to breathe the black, blue, what color is this fire? The fire's got to come out. You got to knock the wall down. So many people do not think about it this way, but you really have to do it. The way that our brand spoke, the way that we behaved, it was holding us back. And nowadays, I mean, with video makes it so much easier to keep people's attention, even though there's so many more things that are happening around us. So you have to take a look in the mirror for your brand when you're getting ready to start a video program. It's like, who are we? Are we relevant anymore? How can we be relevant? And for us, we had to accept that, you know, even the finest wine has a shelf life. And we had reached that shelf life as far as a brand and how people saw us. Stay true to your brand. Stay true to your voice. Well, for our brand, this was our voice. It is stuffy, intimidating. That's what wine marketing has always been about. It's a bottle shot, and it's supposed to look pretty. I mean, look at this. This is from something we did in the 1990s. There is a hunk of cheese on a barrel. I don't even know how they got the wine in the glass. There's no plate. There's no fork. There's no people. Wine is still marketed this way. Wine is a very intimidating thing for a lot of people. So we're this tried and true wine producer that's been doing the same thing for 40 years. But it's like, how do we, as a brand, get people to see us for who we are? Just because you've been around for 40 years doing the same thing doesn't mean you can't innovate. So I think this is a fabulous quote from Richard Branson. It's just that too many companies want their brands to be this like idealized, perfect image of themselves. And when you do that, you have no texture. And it's kind of like what Linda Boff from GE mentioned in her keynote yesterday. It's that if you're doing video, if you're doing marketing, you need people to, as an established business, we need people to see us as who we are today. More contemporary, more human, even funny sometimes. So, meanwhile, this is what's happened around us in our industry. When the Jordans started their winery in 1976 was the first vintage. 1972 is when they founded the winery. There were only 225 businesses. The Apple computer, to put it in context, hadn't even been invented yet. Now, this is how many wineries we have in California. 2,068% increase in competition. Meanwhile, all we were really doing is doing the exact same thing in terms of how we told our story. So what happens then? I mean, I truly believe faceless brands are the next dinosaur. There is something that I tweeted out that was a recent story in Ad Age, where they said that, I'll have to actually pull up the quote because I don't know it by heart, but he said, businesses that stress a storytelling approach that prioritizes delivery through credible, authentic, and peer faces versus faceless brands are going to be more successful in the new era. So even if you're an older brand, you can figure out a way to make old school cool again. And for us, we had to make our age an asset, not a liability. We figured out we could stay true to our roots without abandoning who we were. So we decided to go about that with video. So we started video storytelling about 8 years ago. And it was a time when blogs were already exploding and we were kind of late to the game, but there were only a few wineries in our industry doing video. So for us, we're trying to say, let's go where our competition is not going. I think that's important in any sort of type of video strategy. And so we're aligning who we are with the customer why. For those of you that were here in Amy's section, as well as I know it's preached in a lot of content marketing as well as SEO marketing, is that it's all about the why. We make our content, a lot of our content is about our audience, not about us. We've gotten out of this brand first mentality in what we do, and that's really important to any video strategy. So Jordan is a winery that's known for its food. They're known for being very food friendly. We're known for our hospitality. We're known for entertaining with food, very elegant wines. But what we wanted to make sure we would do is for people to know who we are. No one really knew the Jordans. It was just a bottle shot in a magazine. The family wasn't out there. I mean, I've been in this business 20 years, and before I worked at Jordan, I didn't even know who the Jordans were. I assumed there were Jordans, but nowadays, brands, you can look at the name on a package and not know, is this a corporation or is this an actual family? How authentic is this product? And so for us, it was really important. It's like, how do we capture the fun and the personality of the people through video, but also how do you capture the authenticity? Because that's so important to the consumer. Has anyone ever watched one of Simon Sinek's TED Talks? You have to go watch them. I did. I tweeted one out today as well. There's more than just the consumer why when you're developing a video strategy. It's not just what the consumer is searching for, why they're on the internet, and how your brand is going to serve that need with your content and add value to their life. But it's also the why in your product, because you have to remember that people buy what you do, or people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so this is a circle that Simon uses throughout his entire theory. So I use this as an example to show, if you think about, let's take GoPro for instance. GoPro is selling excitement and adventure. It just happens that you capture that through a camera if you follow their YouTube channel or see any of their user-generated content. So it's about the why in your product. What do you stand for? For Jordan, that's we're passionate about hospitality. We're passionate about the totality of the experience of enjoying a bottle of wine. It's not just the wine. It's not about just getting a score for that wine and making a big wine that's going to do well. It's about it going well with food. It's about it slowing down. It's the friendship around you, the people you're opening that wine with. So how do we take that why and extend that into our content? So you have to have this sort of practice with any time you're setting up a video program for a business. So in terms of developing your content and your content plan, I would say the more corners you have, the less corners you have, the better. We have 4. That can be too much. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, of what we've learned about consistency and how doing too much and being too diverse with your content has actually held us back in some places. So I know this has been said in some of the other presentations, but how to. It's that we're satisfying a need. What we're doing is it's looking at our brand and saying, what are we good at? What is true to who we are? What is authentic for us as a voice? And then how does that plug into something that we could serve for a how-to? So we're not going to be out there doing videos about, how to find wine reviews on a website. We do videos such as, how to buy the best kitchen knives if you love to cook, because we love to cook. So Wine 101, very important because people are intimidated by wine. So what can we show people out there that will help them understand and make wine, more educational, a little more entertaining? And then one of our breakthrough categories has been parody. For those of you that already produce video, you probably know parody is a protected class, so you have the ability to take other people's content, create something new around it, and then you don't have to worry as much about legal implications, copyright, those types of things. And then we also focus on loyalty, because this is an established brand. If you have an established brand, it's really important to try to develop some content around the people that already love you and and love your brand. And so we develop specific videos for those people that are more for people that have Jordan wine already in their cellar. And so we call that a series called Jordan Uncorked, which is actually something we just put out. We just started this year based on some of our learnings. So video marketing has to come across as helpful, entertaining, or both. That's what we practice. So in this case, this is just a little GIF that I created from an HD video. But when you're making Cabernet Sauvignon, a lot of red wines in the making actually use egg whites in them. So we've had people ask us, like, what does the egg white do in the wine? So rather than just making a very boring video about, or text blog of saying, here's why you use egg whites in winemaking and what it does to soften the tannins in a red wine, we went out and followed our chef to the farm where we get the eggs and basically walk them through visually in 90 seconds what's happening and why we're doing it, and then made it fun by basically showing them, well, what do you do with all the egg whites? We make ice cream when we're done. So let's talk about building. So in terms of departments, and I've left enough time at the end, so we should have Q&A for people that want to have other questions about setting up different types of departments. But for what I'm going to focus on today is about building an in-house department, since that's what we've done and we have the most experience with. But you could also, talk about doing something outside and working with studios, and we can talk a little bit about that. So if you're producing video in-house or trying to expand the program or get one off the ground, I think these are 10 really important questions that you need to ask yourself from the beginning. The first being, and when you say, do you have upper management support? I don't mean, oh yeah, they've hired you. Of course you have management support. It's like, do they really understand what it takes from a structure standpoint, from a manpower standpoint, and a budget standpoint to have an in-house video program? This isn't just, and it's also from buy-in. It's the buy-in from all the people around you. It's like, if you're running video, are you going to embed yourself in other departments? Because what that means is it's not just going up, hi, I'm the new person, I'm going to be shooting video. You have to build trust with these people. Because if you jump down to number 4, it's like being prepared for the resistance from your coworkers. I mean, video creates extra work for people. If you have spokespersons at your winery, or for us it's at the winery, at our business, that are now going to be required to be on camera, they have to do that in addition to the job they had before. And so these are all growing pains that we had to go through of, like, how do we get people on board? And for us, what it started with is John Jordan, like, mentally prepared people for almost a year that he was going to be hiring someone, which ended up being me. He didn't know who it was, didn't know what we were going to do, but he's like, communication has changed, and it's going to be different, and we're all going to be a part of this. And so everyone was sort of on board coming in. But you have to earn that trust and respect. And when you embed yourself in the departments, you're also finding out the news, you're finding out your angles, you're figuring out what you should be covering, what you should be talking about, what stories to tell. Because these people are very busy, and they don't have time to think, oh, I need to tell the video people this would be a cool idea. Now, we've gotten to the point in our culture over the first couple of years where now people in other departments will contact us. I'm doing something. I think this would make a great video. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. But there is a cycle, and then it falls off. So you got to make sure that you continue to have that team building and that relationship with people inside your company, because as time goes on, they get busy. Everybody's too busy, and you lose that. What are the best stories to tell? Not just the consumer why, what relates back to your brand. Can you run lean and mean? I mean, for us, it's having people do multiple things besides doing video. We don't have dedicated video people per se in a small business. IT infrastructure. Some of the biggest learnings that we had is setting up IT, because even the bandwidth for the internet, like the video department hogs so much. I mean, we had a situation where they couldn't even process retail orders for consumers that were downstairs doing wine tastings because we were uploading videos to YouTube. I mean, it's really, really bad. Now, we've set up an entire dedicated line for the video department. So I definitely say it's something that you need to do, make sure you do. Having your own backup systems that happen daily for your hard drives, all of that you need for an in-house video program. I would say, how big is the budget? The budget doesn't have to be that big. I'll show you that next. But, you know, just being thorough, little things add up. Or if you're using music, background music, you got to buy those. If you're buying them from premiumbeat.com, that price is up to $39 for every clip you buy now. So those add up. You need a little bit of stock footage. You got to pay for that. Are you using props? If you buy props cost money. All of these things. Skill sets for jobs and the responsibilities. I'll talk about that a little bit more in another slide about how we kind of divide up and look at hiring people for these types of positions. And then editorial plan. What are you going to be talking about? Planning that out for the year. Do you have a distribution plan? Critical. Can't tell you how much we've learned because our distribution plan was put it on YouTube, send it out in a newsletter, put it on social media. It's no longer enough. And then, what is your audience? Who's your audience right now from the start? What do you have? Because you need an audience in order to get people to view these videos. Unless you're Chewbacca Mom and you do something crazy, amazing, viral.